So there guys, we have some great news for 2026, and that is Apple are developing a budget version of the MacBook Air, or a budget version of a MacBook. And today I want to tell you about 8 big leaks that we've heard about this new budget MacBook. And let's get started first of all with number 1, and that's all to do with the design of this new MacBook, what it could look like. So the possibilities of this new MacBook that is going to be coming out is that the actual design of it could be actually using a design that we haven't seen in a while. The design I'm talking about is the 2015 MacBook. Now this MacBook came out and it only had a very short sort of lifespan, mainly because it did have a lot of problems with it. It had the butterfly keyboard, that wasn't the best. It also had an Intel M chipset inside of it. This wasn't the best too to actually have inside of it. And then also there were some problems with the hinges and things like this. But still today, it's actually Apple's thinnest MacBook they ever made. And they only made 2 versions of this. They made a version in 2015 and then they made a version in 2017. And another big problem with this MacBook was heating problems. Because it uses an Intel X86 chip, it got really hot for what it is. However, this design may actually come back to life again, especially now we have Apple Silicon. And this is something what I'm going to get onto in a second, that this new kind of chip that we have with Apple Silicon, they're far more cooler, far more efficient, and obviously Apple, I'm sure, would never use the butterfly design keyboard again. They'd use their sort of magic keyboard that they've been using for a good number of years inside of this design, and this is great news to hear that we could be getting this design potentially. It means it would be a 12-inch display, so it's a small one, but Apple could also use the design what they use inside the likes of the MacBook Air, and this was the design from 2018 to 2020. Again, a design that wasn't really used that much. This was the design what the M1 MacBook Air came inside of, and then obviously we did have the Intel before that inside of it. There was a fan inside that with the Intel versions, but it wasn't until we actually Apple Silicon with the M1 that the actual fan disappeared completely. And a lot of people still think this is a great design MacBook Air that came out, so we could actually get this 13.3-inch design MacBook instead. But of course, some of the sort of design little mini changes we may get with this as well is that obviously we might not get a full screen, we may get a notch at the top like a MacBook Air right now or a MacBook Pro right now, but don't expect anything else kind of really amazing inside of this display. Do not expect ProMotion, do not expect OLED or mini LED. It will just be a standard kind of LED display what we will get inside of this MacBook. But then for the second big leak that we've heard about, it's all to do with colors. What we may get with colors with this is something very similar to like the iMac range what exists right now, or for example colors that are very similar to say the iPhone 16 normal or the iPhone 17 colors that are about to come out. So I'm talking about greens, purples, blues, do you get me? Kind of those sort of more vibrant kind of colors, very similar to what you're seeing like in these renders right here. We could actually get some fun kind of colors actually applied to the likes of this type of MacBook, what would be really, really cool to see. So yeah, this would be really good that Apple actually do apply a bit more color inside of this. But then for the third big leak that we've heard about, and this is probably the biggest one of them all, that this MacBook would not actually have an M chip inside of it. It won't have an M1, 2, M3, M4 or M5. It would actually in fact have an A chip inside of it, and specifically the A18 Pro, the exact same chip that we get inside the likes of the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max right now. Now you may think, what on earth are Apple thinking here, putting an A chip inside of a MacBook? But don't forget this, that with the A18 Pro, it's actually faster than the likes of the original M1 chip, even with it having less cores inside of it. So that's right, the single core performance actually is even faster than the likes of say the M3 single core performance. And then the multi-core performance, well that's on par with say the M1 MacBook Air right now. And obviously, yeah, that is more than enough for a lot of people out there. So this would actually be really, really good news to hear with this. But one thing I would be saying what would be a difference here is the amount of cores we'd actually get inside of it. The A18 Pro, for example, right now is made up of 4 efficiency cores and 2 performance cores. Whereas, for example, with say an M4 existing right now, well, obviously that's a 10-core CPU, 6 efficiency cores and 4 performance cores, or even the original M1, what was 4 efficiency cores and 4 performance cores. This is still quite remarkable that obviously this is just 4 efficiency cores, 2 performance cores, and it's even beating out that M1 in performance. So this is great news to hear that obviously this would actually be going inside of it. And the other great thing about the A18 Pro compared to the M1 or, you know, up to the M4, you can imagine it's even more efficient. It is super efficient. It's designed to be a mobile chip out there. So this is also great news to hear that would go with it. That battery life probably inside of this MacBook, especially if it goes in the 13-inch model, would probably be the longest battery life you could get in any of the MacBooks out there. That is going to be crazy news to hear if this does actually come about. But then for the fourth leak that we've heard about, you're probably going to be wondering, well, what about RAM and also for storage? What's going to be going on there? Well, more than likely, I'm going to say this, it would be 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, as much as we've just got rid of this completely, we've now gone to 16 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes of RAM would be going inside of this MacBook budget or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it's a budget MacBook. So obviously that RAM has to be a lower amount. Apple need to make this cheaper. Plus also the fact that the likes of the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, they have 8 gigabytes of RAM inside of it. So we know it works perfectly well with that. Do remember that this budget MacBook is not going to be designed, you know, for doing full-on Final Cut Pro with 8K video. You know, you get the idea. You're not going to be opening up, say, 50 tabs in, say, Safari or Chrome or whatever kind of browser you use. It is not designed for that. It is more going to be designed as a student kind of MacBook out there for just writing down things in Word, for example, or in notes or whatever. You get the idea. And if you were going to push it out further, that's where you'd go to a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro with that. But then moving on to the actual fifth big leak that we've heard about, and that's also to do with the actual thermals. So as much as I did mention that design with the 12-inch one, that it wasn't that good, obviously the A18 Pro is a far smaller footprint in its chipset design and things like this, and obviously technology has advanced a lot, especially that we're using ARM architecture compared to x86. There's definitely space inside of this MacBook to actually have great thermals, especially also you've got to remember the iPhone 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max, that obviously this is an even far smaller device, and yet, you know, that manages that absolutely fine. So you can imagine that with, say, an even bigger space, even in a 12-inch MacBook, this should be absolutely fine to have this inside with no fan, just a cooling ability inside of it, maybe a vapor chamber or something like this to actually have inside of this new MacBook. But first, guys, I just want to tell you quickly about the channel giveaway for this right here. So I'm going to be giving away at the end of September time one of these. This here is an iPad Pro with an M4 chip inside of it. And I'm going to be giving it away to one lucky subscriber on this channel. And it could be you. And all you have to do to enter it in is just do 2 things. The first thing you need to do is just put down in the comments below right now of what technology gear you're hoping to get in 2025. Maybe it's going to be a new iPhone. Maybe it's going to be a new iPad. Maybe it's going to be a new MacBook. Maybe it's got nothing to do with Apple whatsoever. It could actually be, say, a Nintendo Switch 2 or something else completely different. Now, the second part of the giveaway will be happening at the end of September time, where I'll be making a video giving you more even details about the iPad Pro giveaway, including when I'll be doing the live stream and also a little form to fill in too. And you won't want to miss out on that video. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, and make sure you watch that video when it does come out. Plus, you also want to be a subscriber too, because I'm giving this away to a lucky subscriber. The other thing I just want to quickly tell you about this iPad Pro, it is the 13-inch model, and it's also got 1 terabyte of storage. So that means it's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 10-core CPU, a 10-core GPU, and not only this, it's also the cellular version as well, so you can take it out and about, and I'll be giving it away on this international giveaway. But the last thing I just want to quickly tell you is that sadly there are still lots of scammers and spammers out there. People still impersonating me, tend to WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram direct message. Please do ignore these people, or better see right here, please do report them. So moving on from this then, you're probably also wanting to know, what about ports? What kind of ports would we actually see? Well, having a look even at these designs sort of right here, well, I'd actually say the design of this, we could probably only have one USB port on the side, and this would run probably at 10 gigabits. This would be, say, an USB 3.0 kind of speed that we'd be getting on this one, or USB 3.1, I don't actually know. It's one of those kind of speeds out there. But the point is, it would not be a Thunderbolt. The main reason is because, again, if we're using that A18 Pro, it's not compatible with Thunderbolt speed. So this is why we'd have that. Plus, it's also a budget MacBook. So, it's not expected that you would be linking up a Thunderbolt, say, USB drive to it to actually, download quick 8K video or render off that. It's not designed for that. So again, USB 3.1 or USB 3.0 sort of speed should be more than enough. The other thing as well is expected that this actual design would also be modified, that it would also have a MagSafe port as well. So you'd have probably one USB-C and then one MagSafe port on the side of it to charge it up. And you could also charge it up by the USB as well. But then after this, for the 7th leak we've heard about, and that's all to do with pricing. You probably want to know, how much would this MacBook actually cost you to buy? Well, at the end of the day, the MacBook Air right now, if you buy it directly from Apple, is $999 US. And there's a lot of places like on Amazon constantly you can get it for $850 US. And sometimes there's deals on, like I remember there was like a Prime Day, you get it for $800. But obviously, that MacBook Air has been out now for a good number of months, and that's why the prices have come down a little bit there. Whereas with this new MacBook, I'm expecting probably the pricing to probably be somewhere between $599 US to $699 US. Now, before you think this might be too much, do remember the likes of, say, an iPad Air. So an iPad Air with the 11-inch display inside of this, obviously it doesn't come with a keyboard, and this has an M3 inside of it. Apple currently sell this for $599 US. This is the 11-inch version. So you can see what I mean. Having an A18 Pro inside of this, a keyboard, and things like this too. You don't have a touch screen, maybe 12 or 13-inch, an older design. You can kind of see it could be around about the same price as an 11-inch iPad Air out there. So this is what I'm saying, $599 US to probably about $699 US for this device. But like I said before, like the MacBook Air, give it a couple of months or a few months on Amazon, you'd probably be able to pick this up for about $500 potentially, or around about that price. Well, to be honest, it's quite amazing for what you'd be getting with its performance and everything like that. But then the last question for the 8th big leak we've heard about is, what about the release date? When is this MacBook actually coming out? Well, the great news is we've been hearing that this is going to come out as early as 2026 and in the springtime. We've actually even seen here a roadmap from Mark Gurman, who's even confirmed this, that a new MacBook is coming out, a budget one, whatever this is going to be, with the A18 Pro, and this is coming out in springtime 2026, and this is really exciting to see that obviously this budget MacBook is on its way. But really, guys, that is the latest and greatest we have on this new budget MacBook. Are you excited for it? Are you going to be getting one? Well, let me know in the comments below. And with that as well, guys, it's time to wrap up the video too. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to get the latest news or Apple news, reviews and comparisons too. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.